Welcome to the English Cat channel. This is a story for listening practice. Relax, listen carefully, and enjoy the story. The alarm clock rang on the small table beside the bed. It was a familiar sound. It was the sound that started every morning. Sarah opened her eyes slowly. The room was still dark. The sun was not up yet. For a few moments, she lay in her warm bed. She listened to the silence of the apartment. She felt tired. Her body wanted to sleep for one more hour, but her mind knew that today was an important day. Today was going to be a busy day. She stretched her arms above her head. She took a deep breath. Slowly, she sat up and put her feet on the cool floor. The cold feeling woke her up a little more. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the city was still sleeping. The street lights were on. There were very few cars on the road. It looked peaceful. It looked calm. Sarah liked this time of day. It was the only time when everything felt quiet. She walked to the kitchen to make coffee. This was her favorite part of the morning routine. She needed the coffee to wake up fully. She put the water in the machine. She put the coffee powder in the filter. Soon, the smell of fresh coffee filled the small kitchen. It was a rich, warm smell. It smelled like energy. It smelled like a new beginning. While the coffee was brewing, Sarah thought about her schedule. She reviewed the tasks in her mind. She had a project to finish. She had many emails to answer. She had a deadline in the afternoon. A deadline is a time when work must be finished. She knew she had to work fast today. She knew she had to focus. The thought of the busy day made her feel a little stressed. She felt a small knot in her stomach. But she also felt motivated. She liked her job. She liked the feeling of finishing a difficult task. She poured the hot coffee into her favorite white mug. She held the warm mug in her hands. The heat from the mug warmed her cold fingers. She took the first sip. It was hot and strong. She felt the caffeine entering her system. She felt her brain waking up. She was ready to start. She was ready to prepare for the world outside. She went to her bedroom to get dressed. She opened her closet and looked at her clothes. She chose a smart, comfortable outfit. She chose a white shirt and black trousers. She wanted to look professional. She wanted to feel confident. When she looked in the mirror, she saw a woman who was ready to work. She brushed her hair, she put on her shoes, she checked her bag to make sure she had everything. She had her laptop, she had her notebook, she had her keys. She was ready to go. Sarah stepped out of her apartment building. The air was crisp and cool. The sun was rising now. The sky was a light blue color. The city was waking up. There were more people on the street now. Everyone was moving in the same direction. Everyone was going to work. She walked to the train station. She walked quickly. She liked to walk fast in the morning. It helped her clear her mind. She watched the other people. Some people looked tired. Some people looked stressed. Some people were looking at their phones. Some people were drinking coffee from paper cups. Everyone had a destination. Everyone had a purpose. She arrived at the station and waited for the train. The platform was crowded. There were many people in business suits. There were students with backpacks. The train arrived with loud noise. The doors opened and everyone pushed inside. Sarah found a small space to stand. She held onto the metal pole. The train started to move. During the journey, Sarah did not look at her phone. Instead, she closed her eyes for a moment. She tried to calm her mind. She visualized her day. She imagined herself sitting at her desk. She imagined herself typing on the keyboard. She imagined herself finishing her project. This mental preparation helped her. It made her feel organized. It made the stress go away. The train arrived at the city center. Sarah walked out of the station and into the bright sunlight. The streets were very busy now. There were buses, taxis, and cars everywhere. The noise of the city was loud, but Sarah did not mind the noise. To her, it was the sound of productivity. It was the sound of the economy. She arrived at her office building. It was a tall glass building. It reflected the blue sky. She walked through the revolving glass doors. The lobby was cool and quiet. The air conditioning was on. She nodded to the security guard at the front desk. He nodded back. She walked to the elevator and pressed the button for the 10th floor. As the elevator went up, Sarah took one last deep breath. She was leaving her personal life behind. She was entering her professional life. The elevator doors opened. She stepped into the office. The day had officially begun. The office was already humming with activity. The lights were bright. The phones were ringing softly in the distance. Sarah could hear the sound of fingers typing on keyboards. It sounded like light rain. Click, click, click. She walked to her desk. Her desk was in the corner near a window. She liked this spot. She had a view of the city below. She put her bag down and sat in her chair. She adjusted the height of the chair. She wanted to be comfortable. She turned on her computer. The screen lit up. She entered her password. While the computer was loading, she took out her notebook. She opened it to a clean, fresh page. She picked up a pen. She began to write her to-do list. Writing a list was very important for Sarah. It helped her organize her thoughts. She wrote down the most important task first. This was her priority. Then she wrote down the smaller tasks. She wrote down check emails. She wrote down write report. She wrote down update team. Seeing the tasks on paper made them look manageable. It made them look easy. She opened her email inbox. There were 20 new emails. She felt a moment of pressure. 20 emails meant 20 requests, 20 problems to solve. But she stayed calm. She did not answer all of them immediately. She scanned through them. She looked for the urgent ones. She answered the important emails first. She deleted the junk emails. She organized the other emails into folders. She worked steadily for 1 hour. She did not stop. She focused completely on her screen. She replied to clients. She sent documents. She confirmed meetings. Her fingers moved fast on the keyboard. She was in a state of flow. Flow is when you work hard and forget about time. When you are in flow, work feels natural. It feels automatic. Suddenly, she looked at the clock. It was already 10:30 a.m. Time was moving very fast. She realized she had not moved from her chair. Her neck felt a little stiff. She rolled her shoulders to relax them. She took a sip of water from her bottle. It was important to stay hydrated. She looked around the office. Her colleagues were also working hard. Some were talking quietly on the phone. Some were looking at papers. Everyone was focused on their own world. There was a feeling of shared effort. They were a team. Even though they were not talking, they were working together. Sarah turned back to her computer. Now she had to start the big project. This was the hard part of the day. This required deep thinking. She put on her headphones. She did not play music. She just wore them to block out the noise. She wanted silence. She opened a blank document. She stared at the white screen. For a moment, she did not know what to write. Her mind was blank. She felt stuck. This was normal. The beginning is always the hardest part. She typed one sentence. Then she typed another. Slowly, the ideas began to come. The morning passed in a blur. Sarah typed, deleted, and typed again. She looked at data. She analyzed the numbers. She created charts. Her brain was working at full speed. Sometimes she felt frustrated. Sometimes she could not find the right word. Sometimes the numbers did not look correct. But she did not give up. She took a deep breath and tried again. Patience was a key skill at work. Soon, she heard movement around her. People were standing up. People were stretching. It was 1 p.m. It was time for lunch. Sarah stopped typing. She saved her document. She looked at her progress. She had done a lot of work. She felt satisfied. She decided to leave the office for lunch. She needed fresh air. She needed to see the sky. She took the elevator down to the street level. The sun was high in the sky now. It was warmer than the morning. The streets were full of office workers. Everyone was looking for food. Everyone wanted a break. Sarah walked to a small park nearby. She bought a sandwich and a bottle of juice. She found a quiet bench under a tree. She sat down and took a deep breath of fresh air. It felt good to be outside. It felt good to be away from the computer screen. Her eyes were tired. The natural light was good for them. She ate her sandwich slowly. She watched the birds on the grass. She watched the people walking by. For 30 minutes, she did not think about work. She did not think about the deadline. She did not think about emails. She just enjoyed the moment. She enjoyed the taste of the food. She enjoyed the warmth of the sun. This break was essential. It gave her new energy. It cleared her mind. After she finished eating, she stayed on the bench for a few more minutes. She closed her eyes and listened to the sounds of the park. She heard the wind in the trees. She heard distant traffic. She heard people laughing. It was a nice break from the silence of the office. She checked her watch. It was time to go back. She stood up and threw her trash in the bin. She walked back to the tall glass building. She felt refreshed. She felt ready for the second half of the day. The afternoon would be busy, but she was ready. The afternoon atmosphere in the office was different. It was quieter than the morning. People were a little tired. The energy was lower. This was the afternoon slump. Sarah felt it too. Her eyes felt heavy. Her motivation was a little lower. But she looked at her to-do list. The big project was only half finished. She had to keep going. She made a cup of tea. The warm tea helped her focus. She sat back at her desk. The sun was moving across the sky. The light on her desk changed. It was softer now. She looked at her document again. She read what she had written in the morning. It was good. She continued writing. The afternoon work was about details. She checked the spelling. She checked the grammar. She checked the formatting. She wanted everything to be perfect. She was careful. She paid attention to every small thing. Around 3 p.m., the office became busy again. The phone started ringing more. People started talking more. There was a sense of urgency. The end of the day was coming. Everyone wanted to finish their tasks before going home. Sarah felt the pressure. The deadline was 5 p.m. She had 2 hours left. She worked faster. She did not look at her phone. She did not look out the window. She was in a tunnel of focus. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Her eyes moved quickly across the screen. At 4 p.m., she encountered a problem. The software crashed. Her screen froze. For a second, panic rose in her chest. Her heart beat faster. She was worried she had lost her work. She took a deep breath. Stay calm, she thought. She waited. She did not click anything. She waited for the computer to respond. After 1 long minute, the screen returned to normal. She saved her work immediately. She let out a long breath of relief. That was scary. She continued working. She was near the end now. She was adding the final touches. She reviewed the whole project one last time. She read it from the beginning to the end. She looked for mistakes. She found one small error and fixed it. Now it was perfect. She looked at the clock. It was 4:50 p.m. She had 10 minutes left. She opened her email. She attached the document. She wrote a short message to her boss. "Here is the final report," she typed. She pressed the send button. She watched the email leave her outbox. It was done. A wave of relief washed over her. Her shoulders relaxed. The knot in her stomach disappeared. She had finished. She had met the deadline. It was a great feeling. It was a feeling of accomplishment. She leaned back in her chair and smiled. The workday was ending. Around the office, people were starting to pack up. The sound of typing was replaced by the sound of shuffling papers. People were putting on their coats. People were saying goodbye and see you tomorrow. The energy in the room was light. The stress was gone. Sarah began to clean her desk. She liked to leave her desk tidy. She threw away old notes. She put her pens in the holder. She closed her notebook. She organized the papers into a neat pile. A clean desk meant a fresh start for tomorrow. She shut down her computer. The screen went black. The hum of the machine stopped. Silence returned to her corner. She put her laptop in her bag. She stood up and put on her jacket. She felt tired. Her body was tired. Her mind was tired. But it was a good tired. It was the tiredness of a person who has worked hard. She walked to the elevator. She felt lighter than she did in the morning. She walked through the lobby and out into the street. The sun was setting now. The sky was orange and pink. The city looked beautiful in the evening light. The street lights were turning on again. She walked back to the train station. The crowd was different now. In the morning, everyone was rushing. In the evening, everyone was moving a little slower. People looked relaxed. The work was done. Sarah got on the train. She found a seat this time. She sat down and rested her head against the window. She watched the city pass by. She saw the lights of the buildings. She saw the cars on the highway. She did not think about work anymore. She thought about dinner. She thought about her comfortable sofa. She thought about a good book. She arrived at her stop and walked home. The walk was cool and pleasant. She reached her apartment building. She opened the door and stepped inside. Her home was quiet and welcoming. She took off her shoes. She put down her bag. She was home. The busy day was over. She had faced challenges. She had felt stress. But she had also succeeded. She had been productive. As she walked to the kitchen to make dinner, she felt happy. She was ready to rest. She was ready to sleep. And she knew that tomorrow she would be ready to do it all again. Thank you for listening to this story on English Cat. We hope you enjoyed a busy day at work. See you next time.